No dad sits down at the hospital holding a newborn and thinks, I hope I messed this up. We all start with good intentions. But what most of us don't start with is a clear purpose. In other words, what am I seeking to accomplish in the long term with my child? We'll declare a purpose for business, a clear purpose for a project with a measurable outcome. Many of us will come up with a life mission statement or a life purpose statement. But when it comes to fathering, we'll just kind of make it up as we go. Well, as we explained in the previous episode, a vague purpose leads to drift and eventually regret. So I offered the purpose last week of being a father friend. Be sure to listen to that episode if you missed it. But beyond purpose, there's often another thing that dads lack, and that's a plan. Listen, even if we've chosen a purpose, we still need a plan. That's because big dreams without strategic actions are big flops. So the plan provides an actual framework for what fathering looks like at each stage of your child's development and how it's supposed to change as our kids grow. But without a plan, we just wing it. We father the way our dad fathered, or we go the other direction. We father as a reaction against how our dad fathered. And either way, we're improvising instead of leading with a clear blueprint. Today, I want to give you one. It's the model that I call the father-friend model, and it's built on years of child developmental research and the wisdom of Scripture. And it's designed to answer one question. What does my kid actually need from me right now at this exact age? And how is that different from what they needed 4 years ago and what they'll need 4 years from now? Scripture actually gives us this same idea a long time before any child development researcher put a label on it. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Most of you've heard that verse. You've heard it quoted like it's a magic formula. Well, do this one thing, and your kid turns out right. But as we look closer at the Hebrew ideal behind in the way he should go, it doesn't mean pick one universal method and apply it the same way at every age. It means train according to his way, according to his bent, his stage, his design. That's not a static command. That's a moving target, and it requires a father who's paying attention to which stage his kid is actually in, not just repeating what worked last year. And Deuteronomy 6 gives us the how. Moses tells the fathers of Israel to keep these commands on their hearts and to impress them on their children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. That's not a curriculum. That's not a Saturday morning lecture. That's every ordinary moment of an ordinary day. The car ride, the dinner table, the walk to the mailbox, used as an opportunity for learning. So what a dad is impressing upon his kids is not simply taught, it's caught. And here's what's easy to miss. The content of what you're teaching in that car ride when your kid is 6 looks completely different than what you're teaching in that same car ride when he's 16. Same posture, same faithfulness, same father showing up in the ordinary moments, but a different lesson and a different approach because he's a different kid than he was 2 stages ago. That's a glimpse of the whole plan right there in those 2 scripture passages. Train according to the stage that he's in and do it in the rhythm of everyday life, not in one big speech that you're saving for later. Okay, so now the 4 roles that you play that correspond with the development of your child are leader, coach, mentor, friend. That's the plan I'm going to talk about today. Leader, coach, mentor, friend. Now, there's no way to explain this model adequately in the 15 to 20 minutes I have. That's why you need to get my new book. It goes into great detail about this plan, so go and pre-order it today. But before we walk through the 4 quadrants and what these roles mean, let me give you 5 things you need to know about how this model works, because these 5 things will help you understand and actually change how you use it. First, the model spans about 21 years. 21 years sounds like forever when you're standing in the middle of a 2 a.m. feeding or a toddler meltdown in the cereal aisle. Well, it's not. And some of the research on this is sobering. Many child development experts suggest you only have about a 10-year window to make your most lasting impact. 10 years, not 21. So lean in now, Dad. Be present now. These years matter more than you know while you're living inside them, because you won't get a second run at them. Here's the second thing that's true about the model. There are 4 phases, and the order matters. You can't father a 5-year-old the way you'd father a teenager. You can't father a teenager the way you'd father a 5-year-old. Try to reason your way through a conflict with a preschooler instead of just providing clear leadership, and you'll create chaos in your house. Try to control a 16-year-old the way you controlled a 6-year-old, and you'll get rebellion every time. Think about building a house. You don't start with paint colors and furniture. You pour the foundation first, then you run the wiring, then you frame the walls, then eventually you decorate. Skip a step or two and do them out of order, and the whole structure is compromised, no matter how good it looks on the surface. Fatherhood works the same way. It means doing the right work at the right time. Third, this model is really about your growth, not just theirs. Most parenting resources hand you a manual for how children develop and assume that if you understand the child, you'll figure out what to do. This model flips that. It's not enough to understand how your kid is developing. You need a framework for how you're supposed to develop right alongside them, changing your approach as they change. The call here is to grow, to adapt, to shift your posture as your children advance. A lot of us just stall out. We keep giving our 17-year-old what we gave him when he was 9, because that's the version of fathering that we got comfortable with. And comfortable is also easier than best. Here's the fourth thing that's true about the model. It's a framework, not a formula. No model can hand you a prepackaged answer for the specific argument you're going to have with your 14-year-old next Tuesday, or how to handle a 2-year-old based upon his unique personality, character, and needs. What this model gives you instead is a way to think, a lens through which to see situations come at you so you can respond with balance and wisdom instead of just reacting. Now, not perfectly, but intentionally. So you can't be rigid here. It's a compass, not an IKEA manual. There's going to be overlap between the quadrants. The transition from one phase to the next isn't a hard line you cross on a birthday. It's gradual, and you'll find yourself still using tools from the previous phase for a while, even as you start leaning into the next one. And be careful of making 2 mistakes. First, pushing your kids to grow up too fast. That robs them of childhood. And secondly, treating your teens and young adults like they're still children. That robs them of growth. Let your child be a child. Let your kid be a kid. Let your teen be a teen. Let your young adult be a young adult. Trust the process at each stage instead of rushing it or stalling it out. Fifth, while you will focus on particular attitudes and actions in each developmental stage, every trait still matters in the others. For example, while affirmation may be especially important in the teen years, it isn't something you just do then. Likewise, boundaries and leadership don't disappear once your kids hit 16. You'll lead, coach, mentor, and be a faithful friend at every single stage. It's just that each one has its moment to shine, a season where it's especially vital and shouldn't be neglected. That's the wisdom underneath all of this. And the whole trajectory of the model is aimed at something psychologists call self-efficacy. That's the deep, settled belief that says, I am enough. I can meet this challenge. I can solve this problem. I can build a life. Your fathering across all phases is the soil that either grows that belief in your child or starves it. The process moves in one direction: dependence in the early years, toward interdependence through the middle and teen years, and finally, independence by the time they've grown. Be faithful to the process and let the results play out in their own timing. Trust the model, and in time, you'll see the result. Remember, the last thing to grow on the tree is the fruit. Okay, Those are the 5 things to know. Now let's walk through the 4 quadrants themselves one at a time. Quadrant 1, the father is the strong protector, and the primary role is that of a leader. This is roughly ages 0 through 6, so this is the foundation pouring phase. And there are really 3 questions your young child is silently asking you every single day, whether they can say it out loud or not. They're asking, to whom do I belong? Secondly, they're asking, who can I trust? And third, they're asking, who's in charge here? Your words, your tone, your presence, your follow-through, all of it is answering those 3 questions. Trust at this age is built through your repeated experiences of reliability. Are your daily routines consistent? Are your emotional responses consistent? Or does your kid never quite know which version of dad is walking through the door tonight? The patient one or the short-tempered one? Your consistency is really important. It builds trust. Young children need someone strong enough to create safety through structure. So that means leading with confident direction, not avoiding conflict and hoping problems just resolve themselves, and not swinging the other direction into harshness or intimidation. And regardless of your child's age, but especially in these early years, your character and your consistency shape their earliest impressions of what God is like. Your patience, your grace, your dependability, your protection, that's their first picture of their Father in heaven before they ever set foot in a church building. Now, in the middle of diaper changes and discipline and endless routines, it's easy to miss the joy of it. But that 3-year-old laughing at something ridiculous you did, that moment of pure, I'm so glad I'm your dad, that's the deeper reward sitting underneath all the fatigue of managing behavior and meeting needs. Don't let the doing crowd out the being. Here's quadrant 2. Dad is the confidence builder, and the primary role he should fulfill is that of a coach, roughly ages 7 through 12. The job shifts now from directing to equipping. This is the phase where your kid develops real confidence and competence, and your role is to coach that development, teaching life skills, setting goals together, giving age-appropriate responsibility, offering genuine empowerment to them, affirming what they're doing right, training them for what's ahead. One thing to be careful with here: are you helping your child discover their own unique strengths and interests, or are you nudging them toward your own preferences, maybe even your own unfulfilled dreams? It's a subtle pull, and most of us don't notice that we're doing it. Also, your words carry great weight in this phase. If you're a dad of a teen or a young adult, wouldn't you agree that in this 7 to 12 window, our kids looked up to us, wanted to be around us, listened when we taught them, and just thought we could do anything? For many, we are their hero at this age. So you've got to be careful with your words, Dad. That's because every dad has harmful word patterns that he inherited. And every dad also has some genuinely good, affirming phrases that he leans on. Both are shaping the internal voice your kid will carry into adulthood, the one that either encourages them and believes in them or criticizes them long after you've even been in the room. Because you're seeking to build confidence, there's another question to ask. Are you comfortable letting your child struggle, fail, and learn from consequences? Or do you step in too quickly to rescue them? Okay, there's a lot more that we could say about this quadrant, but just know that I wish that I had realized 2 things when my kids were this age. Number 1, the power of my influence in this stage. And then 2, how quickly this window closes, because after this phase, things really begin to change. Which leads us to quadrant 3. Here, Dad is the steady anchor, and he needs to play the role of a mentor. This stage includes roughly ages 13 through 20. Okay, time for you to hold on to your hat, because for many kids, this is a time of discovering identity. Physical, emotional, and social changes are taking place. Peers become hugely important, and their attraction to the opposite sex emerges, which leads to matters like dating that dads have to navigate. So it's a roller coaster, and the best you can do is buckle up and get through it with as much calm, consistency, and insight as you can muster. So this is the phase where your child starts wanting independence, and some normal emotional pulling away from parents begins to happen. Peers become the priority. Now, that can sting if you're not ready for it. The man who was once at the center of their world is now not so much. But that distancing isn't rejection. It's a normal part of them becoming their own person. Underneath that pulling away, your teenager is wrestling with questions like, do I like who I am? Can I make my own decisions? And maybe the most important one underneath all of it is, do you believe in me? How they're processing that struggle matters too. Some kids internalize it. You'll see withdrawal, anxiety, a quiet kind of sadness that's easy to miss if you're not paying close attention. Other kids externalize it. Rebellion, moodiness, noticeable changes in who they're spending time with. Neither one necessarily means something's broken in them. It means you need to pay attention to how your particular kid processes pressure and adjust your response accordingly instead of applying the same playbook to every kid in the house. This is also the phase of leading your child to build trust with you and mom. That means empowering them with real freedom, not hovering, checking, double checking. In this phase, are you leading through positional authority? Because I said so, because I'm your father, or through earned influence, because they've genuinely come to trust your wisdom. That distinction changes everything about how conflict goes in your house during these years. And here's a question to ask. How often are you speaking authentic affirmation into your teenager's life? Words about their character and worth and potential compared to how often you're offering correction or critique. What does that ratio actually tell them about what they hear most from you? Handled well, Dad, you can help your teen discover identity and make it through the storm of adolescence. That's why you're the steady anchor. Anchors don't move when the waters get rough. They keep the boat tethered, and that's your job. You can't hand your child all they need in this phase, but you can be there to anchor them as they figure all this out. And that leads to the final quadrant. Quadrant 4, Dad is the faithful friend, and his role, of course, is to be that friend, a father friend. Not authority anymore, but advisor. Not leader, but guide. And only really as sought out by them. These are the ages of 21 and beyond, and by now, most of the heavy lifting has been done. Your job shifts one final time from leading to coaching to mentoring to simply supporting. That looks like listening, affirming, empowering, trusting, and hardest of all for a lot of us, refraining from telling and directing. You've spent 2 decades building toward this moment. The goal now is to let your child stand on what you've built without you hovering over the foundation you've already poured, finding a new purpose and fulfillment and identity in this new season outside of the identity of being a dad. You will likely wrestle with a sense of loss now that the active parenting years are behind you. That loss is real for a lot of dads, and it's worth naming instead of just pushing through it. When your adult child faces a hard decision, do you tend to support their growth, or do you still find yourself stepping in to rescue them? Be careful. And when they make a choice you disagree with, can you respect their autonomy while still holding to your own values? Or do you find yourself trying to control them or pull away in frustration when you can't? The goal is by now for your kids to feel emotionally safe bringing you the hard, uncomfortable truths of their adult lives. If you don't have that in this phase, work toward it. It's time to let them go. Don't use them to meet your emotional needs. Set them free and enjoy seeing them attain college graduations and first jobs and first babies and your grandkids. This is the stage I'm in with my kids right now, and it's a wonderful time. Do I miss them in the house? Absolutely. Sometimes it hurts. I miss them so badly. But I try to remember that this is what the goal was all along, and seeing them live productive, purposeful, and fulfilling lives as adult, well, it's just very rewarding. So that's the plan. Leader, coach, mentor, friend. 4 phases, 21 years, one long, steady climb from establishing trust to earning influence to finally just being present as a friend. And underneath every single quadrant sits the same question, Dad. Regardless of where your kid is right now, are you showing up in the role they actually need from you today, or the role that's just comfortable for you? The dads who figure that out, who stay honest about the difference between those two and keep adjusting as their kids grow, are the ones this whole model was written for. You don't have to keep improvising. You have a plan now. You have a framework. Figure out which quadrant your kid is standing in and ask yourself honestly which role they need from you this week. 2 things before we wrap up. Number 1, if you want the full model laid out visually, head over to fatherfriend.net. It's there for you to reference anytime. And then number 2, my book, Father Friend, How Intentional Dads Lean In, Lead Well, and Love Big, is available for pre-order right now. It'll be in bookstores in January, but your pre-order helps distributors see demand and stock them in bookstores when the publication date arrives. Your pre-order will help other dads get this message. So go to barnesandnoble.com, pre-order the book, and then send me an email telling me you did. In response, I will send you the free ebook of it so you can start reading today. You're going to get the purpose, the plan, and the competencies in my book, and I hope that you'll go get it. So for now, Dad, this week, lean in, lead well, and love big.